Welcome to the Moon Equals Wrestling podcast. I, of course, am Dewan L. Hearn, more affectionately known as the Moon. And I've been gone for a couple of weeks, but understandably, it was the holidays. I decided to take a couple of weeks off so that I can spend time with my family, spend time with the kids while they were on break, and just enjoy some time away. But I'm back now. And while there may be some changes to the program here in the next few weeks, today is the day that we're doing this show, and it's going to be a good one. Obviously, the first wrestling show of the year, and what else to do than predict how the year is going to go? So, as you saw in the title, today we're going to cover my top 10 predictions, maybe 11, for the year 2024. Now, before I go any further, this video will go out on January the 4th. And I want to wish my daughter, Addison Grace, a wonderful, fantastic 13th birthday. So happy birthday, baby girl. Daddy loves you. Now, of course, as I always start this show off, I want to catch up on some things that have happened in wrestling since the last show. And since it's been a few weeks, it's been a lot, but I rounded it down to three very particular things. The show comes out on Thursdays. So AEW Dynamite is usually freshest in my mind because it literally happened the night before. And two of these three things I wanted to cover will be AEW things. Because, number one, Deonna Purrazzo is all elite. I've talked about Deonna Purrazzo here on this show, particularly in the women's episode. And like I said, man, she deserves to be on a bigger stage. She deserves to be showcased. And I think in AEW, she will be. At least I hope so. I've heard it mentioned, and they're not wrong when they say that AEW has a tendency to bring in great stars and have them lose to a champion and then kind of fall to the wayside. Taya Valkyrie is a great example of that. Taya Valkyrie is great in the ring. Taya Valkyrie should be champion at somewhere right now. Where is she? Why is Taya Valkyrie not an AEW Women's Champion or an AEW TBS Champion? Why? Feel free to give me your thoughts on that. This is Deonna Purrazzo, and I think Deonna Purrazzo was for a while very underappreciated. And then when she got to Impact Wrestling, now TNA, she was really able to kind of showcase herself, and they gave her the ball, and boy, did she run with it. Multiple time women's champion in Impact, held the women's championship down in AAA, held both at the same time at one point. I think she was ROH champion around the time of the closer before Tony Khan bought it out. Impact was doing a bunch of angles with ROH. And this is going to be good. This is good for pro wrestling. Deonna Purrazzo being all elite is good for pro wrestling. Second, AEW has been doing this angle with the Devil, a play off of a character that MJF kind of brought with him when he came back with the CM Punk thing. I think a sip of my coffee for this one. So they played this angle that someone was portraying the devil that was out for MJF. And the question was, who, of course, is the devil? And this got revealed at, what was the pay-per-view from the other night? Full Gear, might have been World's End. Excuse me, it was World's End. It was revealed at World's End that Adam Cole, his best friend, the other half of Better Than You, Bebe, was the devil. And he was teaming up with Matt Taven, Mike Bennett of The Kingdom, Roderick Strong, who's recently tag teamed with him, who was with Adam Cole in the Undisputed Era in NXT, and of course Wardlow, who has this gigantic beef against MJF anyway. Teaming up with all of them, they are now known as the Undisputed Kingdom. I'm all on board. The new theme is cool. The graphic is kind of cool. It's kind of spray painting graffiti-ish like. The crown with the word Undisputed. When there's a t-shirt, I will be buying it. And honestly, I think this is a really good direction. Adam Cole leading a faction, to me, is ace. I loved Adam Cole leading the Undisputed Era. And when we've had that Undisputed tease, when we had Red Dragon in AEW for a while before injuries, and that was just, it was ace. It was good stuff. I love the Kingdom. I've always been a huge fan of the Kingdom. This Undisputed Kingdom thing is going to work. The Wardlow element is interesting because he was never undisputed. He was never a member of the Kingdom. He's just kind of the oddball in. He seems like the heavy. And according to the promo, Adam Cole expects Wardlow to win the World Heavyweight Championship and then hand it over to Adam Cole when Adam Cole is healthy. Wardlow kind of gave a look, and I think that this is going to be a really interesting tease. I don't really like angles where a faction is set to break up. I really don't like it. There's really two ways of doing it. If you look at like the Brooks and Jensen little tag team that they have in NXT right now, or they did, that breakup made sense. It was just people on different missions. There was just time to split away from the team because they had different objectives now, and that's fine. They split on good terms. They're just like, hey, we're gonna go in our own separate direction now. But hey, I love you. I always have your back. Everything's cool. There's no real breakup. It's really more of a separation. What they did to the New Day when they sent Big E to one brand and Kingston and Woods to a different brand, and they broke up the New Day that way, the team never really broke up. They were still always together. They showed each other. They had time with each other at pay-per-views when all the rosters was there. That kind of a split is okay, but pointless. Uh, to tease this in the beginning, in the foundation of the Undisputed Kingdom, that's, I don't like it, but I'm cool with it. And the only reason why I'm cool with this is because this is how they're presenting it to me. They're not presenting it like, oh, these were old friends who have been friends for years and they've been teaming together in multiple companies, and then all of a sudden they're going to like get jealous and break up. That's not what they're doing here. They're kind of already laying this seed that the odd man out is going to be the odd man out, is going to do a service for Adam Cole he probably doesn't want to do. He's been wanting to be AEW champion from jump. And that was part of the whole breakup with him and MJF. And I like that they're going to set this up in its foundation. And I don't have to worry about believing the turn when it eventually happens. And of course, as we're all talking about, everyone's having their fantasy bookings starting now because we just had The Rock return to Day One Raw. It was the Raw episode on January 1st. And at the end of his promo against Jinder Mahal, he attacks Jinder Mahal. He stands tall. He says, "Hey, San Diego, I'm going to go out to eat now. Where in the restaurant do you think I should sit? Do you think I should sit in a booth? Do you think I should sit at the bar?" And honestly, I'll admit it, I didn't see it coming right away. I honestly thought he was about to promote his tequila again. That was just me. And then he says, "Or should I sit at the head of the table?" Does his catchphrase and leaves. And this is good because this goes into a conversation that me and a couple of friends have always had, at least in the last couple of years. This will tie into one of my predictions, and we'll go straight into it because I'm not really making a top 10 list. It's a top 10 list, but it's not in any particular order. This will tie into one, and I'll just start at that one after this. But Rock Roman was supposed to happen last year, didn't happen for reasons, and here we go. We're gonna get it now. We are teasing Rock Roman at WrestleMania 40. And the most important thing that you need to understand about Rock Roman is that this match is huge. This match is a big deal. Of course, if you're listening to this show, you already know that. But the most important thing to know about this match in particular is that because of who Roman Reigns has become now and how he relates both in story and in reality to The Rock, this story, this match does not require the WWE Championship. It doesn't. It does not require the WWE Championship, which means number one on my list, going straight into the content, this year, Roman Reigns finally loses the, what is it officially called now? The WWE Undisputed Universal Championship. He loses this championship in 2024, not to The Rock, but because of The Rock. Listen, I don't know a single person out there who considers themselves a smart fan booker, an armchair fantasy booker, who doesn't agree that the championship does not need to be involved in this story at all. Roman does not need to be champion for this to take place. The championship is better off of Roman now because the storyline has gotten stale. And we don't need The Rock to become champion. We do need The Rock to win this match at Mania. And that's how I see the story. The Rock beats Roman. Roman is defeated. It is this loss, followed by his loss of the championship, that eventually breaks up the story, the bloodline, and ends the bloodline. I see Jimmy partnering back up with Jay. I see Solo having Paul Heyman as his mouthpiece, and Solo running amok, following sort of in the footsteps of Umaga. But I want him to be more successful than Umaga. I would love for Solo. Hell, Solo can beat the guy who beats Roman, whoever that ends up being. I have stories for that, and that's going to probably be a wholly different episode altogether. But that's my first prediction of 2024. This is the year Roman Reigns loses the WWE Championship. It's just got to be. The story is stale. His reign is stale. He's already beaten the records he needs to beat. He's not going to beat Bruno Sammartino. I think he has enough wins to pass up. I think it was like the second reign of Hulk Hogan. We're good now. He's hit the records. He can lose the title. The Rock is here. And with The Rock here, Roman can get screwed, and that will protect him. Gives him a reason to actually bother with fighting The Rock. And then once he actually fights The Rock, he can loose The Rock, which sets everything else with the break of the bloodline into motion. Roman goes away for a while, and honestly, I'm perfectly fine if he doesn't show back up until Rumble 25. Let him come back Rumble 25. That's perfectly fine with me. We can go the rest of the year without Roman. This is not a shot at Roman. This is just that I'm sure he's got his other things he wants to do. He wants to pursue acting. This gets him off of our screens, and It redistributes people like Solo who can do things on his own. Solo did not need the bloodline. His inclusion was obvious, so I'm not mad about it. But this is now time for Solo to shine. Let Jey Uso go do what he has to do. Let Jimmy Uso go do what he's got to do. Paul Heyman should stick with Solo. He already got declared the future tribal chief or whatnot. This would be a great way of passing that torch along to Solo, and as such, passing Paul Heyman with him. This can open some doors for a flood of rivalries. It's great, but all of these other superstars who have not had a chance to really shine can now shine. People like Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes, LA Knight, all of these people can shine in their proper position as the main event talent. These those three should be the main event tier in WWE. Cody, LA Knight, Kevin Owens, along with you have your CM Punks and you have your Seth Rollins. These are the people, your Drew McIntyres, your Randy Ortons. All of these people should be your main event group, akin to your Triple H, Stone Cold, The Rock, Undertaker, Kane, Mick Foley. You had those six guys in the Attitude Era, and the championship kind of danced around them. I'm cool with that. You had your Triple H, John Cena, Batista, Randy Orton's, a couple other guys, and your championship, your Undertaker, Edge. All of these guys had the championship dancing around amidst all of them, and that's perfectly fine. It all worked. It all worked. But now you don't have a championship title picture because the title doesn't move. I think Seth needs to lose his championship here soon. I think Roman needs to lose his. And honestly, I think all the champions, with the exception of EO, they all need a shift. We all need new champions. I think Rhea's reign is perfectly fine if it goes just past WrestleMania. I think Rhea's doing a great job as champion. She's defending it. She's holding her position. She's showing her position at the top of the card. She's holding her position at the top of the women's roster. Keep Rhea where she is. If I'm wrong about any of these championships moving, let it be that one. Rhea can keep her title. Io, relatively new with the belt. She's only had it for a little while. I think we see where the plan for that is going. And I'm down. Like, let it roll. Let's go with it. Those women's champions are good. NXT is doing a great job. Leave NXT alone. They know what they're doing. They're fine. Their titles are moving. Things are shifting there. You need the titles to move. You can't just let them sit in the same place year upon year upon year. You need something new. You gotta keep it fresh. Next prediction for 2024, good old JR, Jim Ross, the voice of professional wrestling, if you ask me. If you've never heard Jim Ross doing commentary, it's gold. There's something about his Oklahoma voice that just says good old fashioned wrestling. You know what I mean? And it feels good. Jim Ross and the King, great commentary team. Probably best team ever. Best, color duo ever. Quick shout out to Taz, who is a great commentator, and I hate that he's not in the ring anymore. Glad that we have Hook to take that mantle. But Taz was good at commentary in the WWE, good in commentary in TNA, good in commentary in AEW. Shout out to Taz. But this is the year that I think Jim Ross just officially retires. He's had his health issues. I've heard he's doing better. All this other things going on with JR. I think it's just time JR ride the legacy he has into the sunset and retires on his own terms. Let him call one more great match or one more, like, let's say one big card, um, Double or Nothing. Let's let Double or Nothing be his last AEW show. I'm perfectly cool that's his last show ever, but if he can come in and, you know, be one more, do one more main event call for WrestleMania 41, sure. But I think he should officially retire this year, and I wouldn't be mad if he officially retires in AEW. Third prediction: R-Truth. God bless R-Truth. R-Truth holds what I'm calling serious gold um, sometime this year. I see R-Truth winning a championship, and I'm here for it. I love it. I think it'd be really, really funny if he gets put in a tag team match with a member of the Judgment Day, because that's the story he's got going on now. Uh, it could be him and The Miz, and they just recently brought back Awesome Truth, which was a tag team of R-Truth and The Miz. They wrestled a tag team match this past Monday on the Day One Raw, and to be honest with you, I'm here for it. Let Awesome Truth beat Priest and Finn Balor for the tag team championships. I don't care how long the reign lasts. Just give a serious championship to R-Truth. Last goal R-Truth was really fighting for was that 24/7 BS title. And I don't consider that serious gold. But give him some real gold. Give him this championship. Give him a tag team run with The Miz. Give him a month with it, 3 months with it. I don't care. It doesn't have to be long. But it's time that we start putting some respect back on R-Truth's name. So, serious championship win this year. It'll happen. Number 4, and I don't have any specifics, and this is a really broad prediction. So, it'll be really up for debate later on in the year or at this point in time next year when I kind of go back over this. TNA, the return of TNA, the rebranding from Impact back to TNA Wrestling will shift the wrestling landscape. Like I said, this is being recorded on January 4th, and there's already rumors. There's already rumors that there could be a partnership between TNA Wrestling and the WWE. I think at some point, someone in Impact still Impact TNA referred to their pay-per-view Hard to Kill as a premium live event, which is a very WWE um, name. Somehow this has to do with someone that TNA is working with being associated with Endeavor, which is now the parent company of TKO Group, which is the new merged company of the UFC and WWE. How all of this is connecting, I don't know, but somehow TNA Wrestling is going to shift the landscape of wrestling altogether, point blank, period. I love, in my personal view, if they can work, I don't even care what channel it's on, a better TV deal for Impact. The TV show was originally called Impact for TNA Wrestling. So if they keep the TV show name to be Impact, then I'm referring to the show Impact, not the company. The company's TNA, show is Impact. I want the show Impact to be on a better channel. I don't currently watch Impact Wrestling because it's on a channel my cable provider doesn't give me. I'm sure if we upgraded our package, we could get it, but I'm not going to pay extra money for cable for one channel. Nonetheless, this is going to happen. This rebranding of TNA is going to be a big deal. So go ahead, buckle up. I don't know how, but TNA is going to be making moves with this rebranding. Shit's about to go down. I said it. Everyone else agrees with me, I'm sure. And if you don't, you're just wrong, and that's okay. Number 5, if he doesn't retire, Shelton Benjamin is going to join TNA. Non-compete clause is over, I believe. He can now move about the world as he wants. And if I had to predict where this guy's going to land, he's going to land in TNA. In a perfect world, Shelton Benjamin shows up to TNA. It's an open challenge to the world title. Shelton Benjamin answers it, wins. I think their champion is still Alex Shelley. Nothing against Alex Shelley. Love Alex Shelley. But Shelton Benjamin comes in, whoops up on Alex Shelley or whoever the champion is, and immediately becomes TNA champion. I want the TNA champion. I want that old championship belt back. That old TNA champion, the big gold one, the TNA big gold, that was a beautiful belt. I have a replica of it. It's fantastic. It's a beautiful belt. It's one of my favorite championship belts. I want Shelton Benjamin to win that championship. I want him to be champion for 6 months. Let him have banger after banger matches with everyone on that top roster. Everybody in the top part of the roster. And a few of the X Division guys. I would love to see him in the X Division. I wouldn't be mad if he doesn't get the world title. I wouldn't be mad if he shows up as a mystery opponent in an Ultimate X match. Shelton Benjamin as X Division champion probably should have happened a long time ago. The homie has been in WWE, and that's cool. But this is a new space for wrestling nowadays. The last few years, it's a whole new world for professional wrestling. You can be, you don't have just one option anymore. It wasn't just Raw or SmackDown. And then it wasn't just Raw, SmackDown, or NXT, which is still all WWE. Now it's WWE, or you can do AEW, or you can go to TNA, or you can go to New Japan. By the way, this is January 4th, and by the time you hear this, it'll be January 5th in Japan. January 4th, obviously being the annual date for their big event, Wrestle Kingdom. It's Wrestle Kingdom 18. I have no results for that. I think it's either happening now or it might be over not too long ago. Nonetheless, Shelton Benjamin is going to land in a TNA. I'm here for it. Shelton Benjamin is X Division champion. Shelton Benjamin is world champion because that man has been denied a world championship. And be damned if he never gets one. Also, can we start recognizing the TNA World Championship, the Impact World Championship on our grand scale of world titles? Can we conclude that, please? Thank you. Number 6, Willow Nightingale will win the AEW World Women's title. Now, if you've never seen Willow Nightingale wrestle, stop what you're doing. Pause this podcast. Look up Willow Nightingale. Pick a match. I don't care which one, and watch it. Don't watch the match from World's End pre-show. I don't know what happened with Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander, but the match was messy. I don't know if they just got tired, if someone was hurt. Both Statlander and Nightingale are incredible wrestlers in the ring, and for whatever reason, that match didn't work. It fell apart. And I think once it started to snowball, it just snowballed, and there really wasn't a whole lot that could be done about it after that. So not that one, only because that is not a good representation of how good Willow Nightingale or Chris Statlander, for that matter, are in the ring. Pick any other match, and it's going to be gold. Willow Nightingale has been climbing this ladder in AEW. She's been hanging around with the TBS champion, which is the women's secondary title in AEW. but I want her to hold the top title. Somehow I feel like I don't know how they've split up the women's roster. And you know what it is? I think I'm just so used to there not being a secondary championship in most organizations. Uh, Impact doesn't have one. WWE doesn't have one. And there's no secondary championship for the women. So I'm kind of like not used to the whole roster not being considered, top title contenders. If we're looking at AEW in the same way we look at, the WWE Championship and the Intercontinental Championship, and how there's kind of like two divisions where guys are more likely to lean towards one title or the other, I can see where right now Willow's being placed in line for that TBS title. Um, she's currently with Statlander. They kind of have a thing against Sky Blue, who's partnered up with the TBS champion of Julia Hart. Uh, they're all surrounding the TBS title. Willow will most likely win that championship, but if things go the way they should, she'll win that championship in the next couple of months. But by year's end, she'll be on that rocket towards the world championship currently being held by Timeless Tony Storm. That's my goal. That's what I want. Number 7. Now, of course, I wrote this list out a few days ago, and since then, there have been some reports against this. But I'm going to still report it anyway, just because. Number 7, I say that Mercedes Moné, formerly known as Sasha Banks, will return to the WWE as Sasha Banks. She will help Bayley in her fight against Damage Control. It's happening. I don't care what anyone says. Bayley, in the separation between Bayley and Damage Control, in my opinion, is happening. It should line up to Mania. I see Bayley winning the women's Royal Rumble match. Call it. Bayley wins the Rumble. She's going to look like she's going to be challenging Rhea Ripley. They might even tease it in a few matches or whatever, some promos. But something's going to happen, and Damage Control is going to pull the trigger on kicking out Bayley. And that's when Bayley's going to change her mind, and she's going to go after Io Sky at WrestleMania. She's going to have somebody in her corner. It's going to be Sasha Banks. If I'm WWE, there's only 2 places to debut Sasha, and one of them's wrong. Debut Sasha's return in the Rumble, that's wrong. It should just be a surprise at the end of the match at WrestleMania. Let Bayley beat Io, and when Damage Control goes to beat up Bayley when she's by herself, here comes Sasha Banks. That's how you do it. That's the only place that makes sense. Don't screw up the story. Also, hire me to write the story. There have been reports against this. There have been reports that the negotiations between Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné, she's not back yet, Mercedes Moné, and the WWE have fallen short. They are considered failed negotiations. That doesn't mean they don't work themselves out later on. But, yeah, if talks have fallen apart, then she might be landing in AEW. She might be Sasha Banks versus Deonna Purrazzo at some point. She might find herself in TNA and partnering back up with Trinity, her former tag team partner, Naomi. A lot can happen if she doesn't go back to WWE. But I honestly don't know if, I'm going to be honest, I don't know if the Bayley leaving Damage Control storyline works without a returning Sasha Banks. I don't see Bayley leaving with friends. And honestly, she The Bailey leaving Damage Control turned Bailey babyface again, and it follows a similar storyline to Jey Uso. Jey Uso goes babyface, goes to a different brand, and now everyone who was a victim of the bloodline, which is literally everyone, was kind of sitting back looking at Jey Uso like, we can't trust you. Yeah, you're babyface now, but we don't like you because of what you've done before. And I think that that is the direction that we're looking at with Bailey as she leaves Damage Control. She needs someone in her corner. Jey Uso has Sami Zayn and Cody Rhodes, but right now the real focus is Sami Zayn. You know, Jey Uso has that he can benefit off that partnership that the New Day and the Usos had, as evident in the recent Jey Uso Kofi Kingston partnership against Imperium. Shout out to Giovanni Vinci. Hope you're feeling all right. We never want anybody to get hurt in the ring. Truthfully, if Sasha Banks doesn't come back to be that dedicated friend who was not here to be tormented by Bailey and Damage Control, if she doesn't come back, I'm not so sure that this story works. I'm sure they can work their way around it. I'm sure it'll do what it do, but to me, it doesn't really have the same impact without a Sasha Banks. Can they bring Sasha in later? Sure. But I think if you're not going to pull the trigger on the whole thing, the whole new setup at Mania, you may not want to do it. Might want to push it on to SummerSlam. Number 8, Tiffany Stratton will be in the Women's Royal Rumble match. I've already declared that I think Bayley's going to win, and so I don't see Tiffany Stratton winning. But I do see Tiffany Stratton showing up and showing out. Listen, I'm the biggest proponent of Tiffany Stratton right now. Tiffany Stratton, to me, I didn't like her original character. I didn't like the, oh, I'm daddy's perfect daughter and I have money and ooey, ooey, ooh. Remind me not to go ooey, ooey, ooh on this show ever again, which means I probably will. But I didn't like that character. But having Becky Lynch in NXT did exactly what it was supposed to do. It gave eyes to NXT. It put eyes on women's matches in NXT. And it allowed people to see how good Lyra Valkyria and Tiffany Stratton are because of their matches that they had with Becky Lynch. Tiffany Stratton showed the fuck out in that showing, in those matches. And I honestly wasn't a fan of Tiffany Stratton, and now I'm like singing her praises because now she showed me, she proved me wrong. She showed me what she was about, and I'm like, all right, cool. You showed up, you showed out. I'm on board. You've been giving me a reason to buy a ticket. Now you got Tiffany Stratton in a top match. I'm gonna watch, and that was the goal, was to give people a reason to watch Tiffany Stratton be Tiffany Stratton. And I see her taking an opportunity to enter the Royal Rumble and showing off and standing tall against some of our top tier women. Speaking of such, looking at Tiffany Stratton, like I mentioned a moment ago, I wasn't a big fan of her at first, and then over time, she became almost undeniable. That leads me to number 9. Jade Cargill will officially debut, and at some point will face off against Bianca Belair. Okay, listen. I know we have this thing about comparing wrestlers from one company to another, saying they have a counterpart in another. The Rock and Booker T, Stone Cold Steve Austin and Goldberg, The Undertaker and Sting, The Miz and MJF. This is a good comparison there. And I know a lot of people have compared Jade Cargill, when she was in AEW, to WWE's Bianca Belair. The comparisons to some are unfair because they're just surface comparisons. They're tall, slender, muscular black women with long hair. And I don't want to push this competition because of that blind type of comparison. The reason why I see Jade Cargill facing off against Belair is because Belair is a top women's star. She has been, she will be. Belair has, she has been, she was one of the people who broke through and became like number 5 or 6. Let me explain. There was a period of time where the women's division in the WWE revolved around the 4 horsewomen. I've said this before. It was Becky Lynch, Bayley, Sasha Banks, and Charlotte Flair. One way or another, everything revolved around those 4 women, all together, or at least one of them. Then Asuka entered the chat, and then Bianca Belair entered the chat. Now you have Rhea Ripley entering the chat, and we're so blessed to have these 7 women in those top tier spaces. Also, shout out to Charlotte Flair, who has suffered an injury recently. Hope she's doing well and she'll heal up and be back soon. Belair still has a position to hold, and I think she's going to be looking for championship gold whenever this um, damage control thing breaks up and the title is going to be, more of a tussle. After that initial rivalry with Bayley, whether she wins the championship or not, I think Belair is back in the hunt for it. Especially if Io wins, or if Io is the representative from Damage Control going after the title. I don't see Io and Asuka, all members of Damage Control, all going after a Bayley champion at the same time. So once that is or is not a thing, Bianca Belair is going to be right there. Once that happens, boom, there you go. You're going to have Jade Cargill wanting to show her dominant position as the new top woman in WWE. Could she debut somewhere else, like in NXT or on the other brand, and start looking at Rhea Ripley? She could, but I don't think that she will. I think that she's going to look at Belair for the position that I think Belair holds, and that's top women's babyface. And as our top women's babyface, it's a shoe in. I see Jade Cargill going in as a heel. I think that's a role that best suits her. And as a heel, she's not going after Rhea Ripley. She's not going after Io. She's not going after heel Bayley. She might look at babyface Bayley, but still, I think Bayley's going to have her attention still diverted towards Damage Control, which leads Jade Cargill facing off against top women's star Bianca Belair. Just because. So yeah, Jade Cargill versus Bianca Belair. That will be the match. I don't know when. It will not be a Mania match. Could be, but I don't see it as a Mania match. You might have Jade Cargill debut in the Rumble, do a standoff there. I don't think Bianca Belair is going to be focusing on the championship this WrestleMania season. So you could do that as a Mania match for Jade Cargill. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But it's going to happen this year, and that's going to be the opponent. And of course, my 10th prediction, it's kind of obvious. We're all looking forward to it. It's going to happen. We know it's going to happen. And if they don't pull the trigger this year, I don't know if we can trust Tony Khan. I don't. I don't know if we can trust Tony Khan in AEW if this does not happen this year. Number 10, Swerve Strickland becomes AEW World Champion. I know we have the Undisputed Kingdom thing going on. We don't know where MJF is. Um, but either way, Samoa Joe's got this championship. He needs top contenders. We know we got Wardlow in the picture because of what was said before, but there is no denying that the next AEW World Champion should be Swerve. I don't care who he's facing. I don't. Beats Samoa Joe, cool. Beats Wardlow, cool. Beats Moxley, I think that's the match, to be honest with you. In the Continental Classic, the match between Moxley and Strickland was ace. And I think that opened the door to really seeing Swerve in that top championship tier. Because Moxley's one of their best champions that they've had in their short history. MJF was a great champ, so was Omega. Um, I mean, they really haven't had a bad champion, but Mox was their golden boy. Moxley is the AEW Stone Cold Steve Austin. I said it. I don't care. And to me, if you really want to show your worth, you beat your top guy, whether he's got a belt or not. And he's already, I believe, got that win over Moxley. So I don't care how the title belt gets to him. But by the year's end, by the end of 2024, Swerve Strickland needs to be the AEW World Champion. Personally, I'd love to see him win the belt at Wembley, at All In. Personally, I'd love to see him win it at Double or Nothing. Personally, I don't care when or how. I don't care who. The end result need be the same. Swerve Strickland, AEW World Champion. Point blank, period. And there you go. Those are my top 10 predictions in no particular order on things that will happen in in 2024 across wrestling. Now, I know I mentioned maybe 11, and the maybe 11 had to do with whether or not I was going to change the Sasha Banks prediction because of the failed negotiation report. But hey, the literal day of Survivor Series, people were saying that, hey, CM Punk's not here. He's not here, guys. He's not here. He's not showing up. We didn't sign anything. It's fine. And then a few hours later, he returns and debuts. So, tis what it is. Uh, the 11th was going to be a similar prediction to Willow Nightingale, but with Deonna Purrazzo now in All Elite Wrestling, that belt's going to the Virtuosa. There's no way of denying that. Listen, if you know of Deonna Purrazzo enough to sign her, Tony Khan, if you know of her well enough to sign her to a contract so that she comes out on your first episode of the year and declares herself all elite, then you know that you need that belt around her waist. Not the TBS title, you need the Women's World Championship against or around the waist of the Virtuosa. You need Deonna Purrazzo versus Toni Storm. You do. Period. And realistically, you need Deonna to win. She needs to win that first match. Let her fight her way to that point, sure, fine. But match one against Toni Storm needs to go to the Virtuosa, Deonna Purrazzo. It just does. Let her reign as champion because you have a whole lot of championship matches ready to go with Deonna Purrazzo. Deonna versus Toni Storm. Deonna versus Statlander. Deonna versus Brett Baker, DMD. Deonna Purrazzo versus Jamie Hayter. All of these matches need to happen. And if you're listening to this and you don't believe that I'm right, then just go back and watch her tapes. Watch her matches. The way she wrestles against the likes of a Mickey James or a Jordan Grace, uh, Taya Valkyrie, all these other just go back and watch, and you'll see that the virtuosa is who you need as champion. She will indeed elevate whoever she's across the ring with. Period. And that's just is what it is. I don't know what to say. But with that, this episode ends. Um, I'm looking forward to some really cool crossover, wrestling related crossover uh, things. I haven't really worked them all out yet. I hope to be able to announce them in the coming months. You can always stay up to date with literally everything I'm doing on my website, DwanLHearn.com. That's DwanLHearn.com. You can see my other podcast, The Moon Unscathed. You can find the links to buy my first book, my short story collection, the Copper Week collection. And literally everything else that I'm doing is all on that one website. And when new things come down that will be wrestling related, partnering up with some other podcasts, that's going to be all announced there as well. Thank you for joining me here. I'll look forward to the next episode, and I'll see you there.